let's jump into this topic really quick, right? So we're gonna do this. So let's go, and I want to share some tips. I'm gonna make a bigger video on this, but I'll probably have it in Patreon, or I don't know. But here's some tips to learning when you're on that journey of learning how to code, from like what I've seen, from watching Ferris's stream, from watching from helping other people learn how to code and stuff like that. Is you want to have small incremental learning steps, because especially with that 100 day of code and some other projects, they're gonna give you like, okay, they'll have like a 15-minute video on all the details and stuff like that. Like, okay, now boom, go ahead and write this code. And now you're like, okay, and this is the expected outcome that you want. So they'd say you start with this, and here's the expected outcome that you want. And now you have to go through all this pain and tribulation on how to get to that expected outcome. So this tip to help you is to help you reduce that all that pain and tribulation, right? Because coding is hard, right? Coding is hard, but there are some tips that can help you make it easier as you learn, because there's so many different moving pieces that you're not sure if this is the mistake that you're making, or you're not even thinking about this other thing. So small incremental pieces is my first tip for you, right? Because why do I say small incremental learning pieces? Very small bits of code for immediate feedback. I say run often. See, me when I'm coding, like even when I'm coding to this day, I will, like, every few lines of code, I'm hitting run to see if they pass or fail. And I'm also defining what I consider to be pass or fail, because my prime objective is not to get to the expected outcome of the project, of the script, on my first hit of run. It is to say, all right, on like, what are the steps to get there? And let me make it the first step. And when I run it to get the first step, let's say when I run it to get the first step, then okay, cool. Now what's the next step that I need? Let's build off of the first step to add to the second step, and that passes. And now I do that all the way until I get to the final step. So I'm running these small bits of code incrementally, so that I can get immediate feedback, so I can see if on the very first step I'm not getting my expected result, then I'm doing something wrong at the very first step. But if you write a bunch of code, and then now like let's say you write like 10, 15 lines of code, and now you're not even sure where you're failing or what's the problem. But that's why I'll say, all right, let me write 1 to 2 lines of code. If I can write 1 line of code, even better, and I can get that to pass okay, cool. I know my first line is good. Let me write the second line. And now the first and the second line pass. Okay, cool. My second line is good. I write my third line, and now it fails. I know that my problem is at the third line, and I can troubleshoot that. And when I troubleshoot that, then I can actually, okay, now I fix the third line. Now all 3 lines are passing. Let me go to the fourth line. And as I'm slowly building up to that, I will get to my end result, my end destination. So that is how I approach coding. Did I approach that when I first started? Not really. But if I had that insight and that tip on, and I call that testing, like writing code with a testing mindset. It's kind of like test-driven development in a way, not fully, because you're not writing the unit tests and stuff like that. But I'm running the code very often, like almost every line of code that I write, maybe 2 lines if it takes 2 lines, but I run it, boom, pass. Okay, next line, boom, pass. Next line, boom, pass. All the way until I get to my final result. So that is my first tip during our first break on how you can learn to, when you're learning to code, how you can make the process a little bit easier on yourself, instead of having a massive struggle, right? So hopefully that first tip helps. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know. I'm curious to hear from your car as well. What is this? What are the thoughts on this? Curious to hear from Ferris on what you've been doing. If that makes any sense, if that makes any difference. Just curious, right? So that is the first tip on how to make it a little bit easier, how to like ease the pain when you are learning how to code. All right. All righty then. So let's end that one. Boom. So let's see. So, and your car says, all right, before your car. So, Ferris says, these courses equals emotional damage. I need that soundbite. And your car says, start with a solid foundation and test as you go. And that's what I was referring to this morning, Ferris, with the code with testing in mind, not like how to test software for like whether it's QA or cyber or security, but testing out the code like to make sure what I'm doing is working incrementally. So that's what I meant. So and Ferris says, yes, sir, he understands. Shout out to Ferris. I love the work that you're doing. I love the work that you're doing. Very, very good stuff. All right. So with that being said, we are going to get to our second segment of the show. All right. Let's get to our second segment of the show. Let's get to it.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.